Apple.
Yeah, I was like, okay.
All right, throw this away so I don't look.
Good, how are you? Good. Welcome.
Hi, Mac. Peter's gonna take this wallet. We'll go.
Hi, how are you?
You know where this house is.
Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the April 18th meeting of the Board of Sewer Commissioners. I'd like to call the meeting to order. I have a roll call.
Sandy Slavin.
Malcolm White.
Peter Dunlop.
Jim Gibberti. Okay. We have
Usually, let me check.
minutes
I don't even know where it is.
from the meeting of April 4th.
Where it is.
Anybody has any
I was not here.
comments?
No, was I.
I have read them and find them correct. So I make a motion to accept the minutes of April 4th as presented.
And I'll second them. And all in favor?
Aye.
2-0-2. And we have before us an abatement for West Central Avenue. Recommending abatement for a total of $611. Can only go back one full year despite the length of time the water was off.
Oh, really? That's our policy? I don't remember that.
I wonder why this person didn't apply earlier. They've been looking for sewer bills for, what, 2 years? No, August 2015. 3.5 years.
That's the best we could do, right, Guy?
Absolute best.
Make a motion, we accept it as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
4-0-0. Well, so I'm gonna throw this one at you. $3 million SFR funding program.
We're still working on that. I'm hoping to get more attention from Derek and Town Council after the meeting on Monday.
Okay. Do we wanna- Is this something we can postpone till the next meeting
Yeah,
without a problem with notification?
yep, they would like notification that we're taking it or not, but we'll have to do what we have to do.
Yep, okay. Okay, we'll try, unless anybody has anything else,
Mr. Chairman, we sent a letter off to the DEP requesting an extension. We haven't sent the letter. Actually, we called the SRF funding, talked to them in detail. And if we cannot make the deadline, we've asked permission to extend to October 15th.
okay,
So we're in the process of doing that. If something happens before that, that the town administrator says move forward, then we would. If we don't, then we've got this as a backup, but we can extend it to October 15th.
okay. Well, let's put this on hold till the next meeting, and see what we have from Derek and.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm talking to them about it, but yeah, it's just, everybody's attention's on town meeting at this point, as expected.
Okay, lady and gentlemen, one of the things before we get into sewer superintendent's report, I know it's not on here, but we should probably do a reorganization of the board since the election. If we want anything, what do we want to do?
Oh, I make a motion, Jimmy Gibberti remains chair.
Second.
Unanimous.
Thank you. And the rest of the
Make a motion that Sandy remain as clerk.
second.
Unanimous.
And you remain as
If you wish.
vice?
If you wish.
Yes.
He's not gonna be here next meeting.
The third. The first, rather. The first, no, second. The second.
May,
Yeah,
I'll be here,
okay.
right? Leaving on the 5th, 3rd. Yeah, I'll be here.
Okay, because I'm doing a slice and dice that day.
The knee.
So,
See, he'll probably be
Total
thrown out of the
replacement?
hospital by then.
Or just clean up?
I've asked for a new body.
They're just gonna start down there and work their way up.
They don't know where to start on me.
It's about the same thing.
Live with it.
Yeah, that's about the same thing.
Well, I guess I got you both beat. I got 2 new knees, so I'm there, walking, kicking.
Okay,
Alan will tell you.
the board remains the same. Okay. Sewer superintendent's report.
I didn't do a whole lot, Mr. Chairman. I'm on vacation this week, so I didn't have a chance to focus on it, but I've been pulled away to do some other things. And so what I want to talk briefly about is Pinehurst. I think it's on the agenda, well, C Street, yes.
And new business, but that's okay.
So I could talk about that also, or I could wait to new business, whatever you. We've determined, we had a surveyor out and did the rim elevations of C Street manhole, Pinehurst manhole, and the manhole at War. And we've determined that the middle manhole on C Street has sunk 1.5 feet. So 1.6 actually, 1.5 feet. The pipeline going from C Street to Pinehurst, the joint is pulled, the rubber is pulled out. What we can't determine by the camera is if it's a mechanical joint or if it's a slip-on joint. It appears to be mechanical because it's holding on, in our opinion, that it's mechanical, and we don't have the original specifications of 1978 to make a pure determination.
I'm sorry, that's sad.
And then also the drop between Wareham and the manhole, that particular one is dropped. We tried to enter the manhole and shoot towards Ross, but the line is so greased up we can't get in it. It's went from a 10-inch line, it shrunk down that we can't even get in it. We can't drive in it, so we really don't know, so we're gonna try to clean that. We tried cleaning it from the Ross end, and we can't get somewhere in the middle, it doesn't go
jet
through.
rod it?
That's what I'm talking about, we got halfway, couldn't get there, so we're gonna try
Sorry,
it
Guy,
again.
what do you mean by greased up? You mean,
Grease.
clogged?
Yeah, it's like,
People are
it's like a
pulling-
clogged artery, it's just.
oh, thank you.
Well, here's
Well,
the issue, and I,
No, that's,
yes, and I want to be careful, because in the normal routine of our lives, we all put grease down. No one's exempt. The particular problem we have is because the manhole sunk, you have stagnation, because the manhole has to fill up before it can push the water out. So that line is just totally surcharged 100% of the time, and grease drops out and just collected on the entire pipe. So that is the issue with the manhole dropping. So there are many ways to look at it. The engineer is looking at it, and he believes that the best approach would be to stabilize the manhole, rebore the line, replace it, so now it flows as it's supposed to. If we line the pipe in its present condition, which we can, stabilize it, then we'll always have the problem with surcharging. And then we run into the event in the future where we're gonna have to constantly clean that line, because again, stagnation will continue. We'll still have grease problems, and we'll still have blocking problems that'll never go away. So the concept is to fix it. Once that area is fixed, move on to the next. We have 6 manholes in that area, more beyond this one, that have the exact same problems. We gotta do one at a time. Open, dig it up on low tide and that type of thing. So that's how we're planning it. We're going to get some pricing on lining the whole thing. We're going to get some pricing on fixing the pipe and lining the rest of it. Because what we have to repair is just the part that's dropped,
Yeah.
you know?
When the manholes went down, did the inverts go with it?
Yes, that's,
Drag them down?
so when the manhole went down, they pulled the pipe, so
Yeah.
now this
Nothing
flows
broke
this
yet.
way.
Nothing broke yet.
Nothing, what we have is when the pipe went like this, we have the rubber. The rubber's popped out.
Yeah.
So that line on C Street is full of sand and rock.
Yeah.
Well, when it pumps out, you got a void, so the sand is going to get into the pipe. So we have to do something, and whether we slide it.
What's the condition of the manhole, other than the
It's
tank?
not so bad, it's punky, it's got some
Can
deterioration.
you raise the invert, raise the cover, and core some new holes for the,
We thought we'd bore core new hose and put new inverts. That's one of the things, that because you bring it up, now you've got your pitch, now you get the elevation, you got flow. And then the surcharge has gone away. So that's what the engineer feels the best way to
you
approach
feel they're
it.
stabilized now, they're not gonna drop anymore?
We believe that, but we still are going to stabilize it, either with grout or some type of padding. But we think grout would be the way to go, and just so to make sure. The structure is not bad, we'll probably
But try to get
fix
some
it.
grout under the structure.
Yes, definitely. And that should help stabilize the whole area. So we'll do that, and then we replace that one section of pipe, and then line everything else, because that'll bring back that condition and give us the proper flow. So they're drawing that up now, we'll have that in writing, and we'll get some proposals for it. Now, that's just a one manhole. We have 6 more to inspect on the beach. So I'm hoping that we run into some luck, and the rest are good, but all the pipes are ductile iron, and the concrete is gone completely, and there's chunks of metal taken out of the pipe. We haven't looked at the outside, and we can only assume because of the salt water that they're punky also, so the pipes need to be addressed sooner than later. It's just, what are we going to do about this manhole? The next low tide, we're going to wait till next week because it's going to be rain this weekend. We'll attack Ross manhole, dig that manhole up, do the same thing. We're going to have every invert. If it looks fine, then we're fine because we're going to clean it up and then camera it. Then we'll say, okay, and we'll continue and just be just a pipe issue. But if any other manhole's sunk, then each one of them have problems. We got to see the manholes to make that determination. So that's where we are with this project. And so we put the ring back on, and we're going to, next chance we get, we're going to get the Ross manhole, open that up, try to jet rod the daylights out of it, try to break through all that grease, so I can get a camera in there. At that time, we'll inspect Ross, and then shoot the other way to the manhole in the first corner and work our way around the entire beach to make a determination. We've notified DEP, so they're aware. There's no surprises, and whatever they can do, they will. They want us to continue. It's a proactive move. We have some issues, and it's part of our overall plan to inspect all the pipes, so this becomes a higher priority because of the plugging. So anyways, that's where we are with it at this
So,
moment.
Guy, when you break the grease up, does it just continue to flow toward the plant,
It's going to go to the pump station.
the pump station? So it will be in the pump station, and
Then
then
it'll get pumped up to the next pump station,
Station.
and then the next pump station, and then eventually we'll see it. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and that's a normal course, because everybody washes dishes, everybody cooks. Grease is a part of our life, and so now it's just concentrated because it can't flow. So, that's the bottom line. We thought there was a restaurant there because we've always had grease issues. Now it makes sense. This is why we have a grease issue there, so that's where we are with Pinehurst. We'll have more answers. Joe will draw it up over the weekend. And then we'll have the actual, what you see there crudely will be defined. All the elevations will be established. We have them all, and we'll continue with elevations so we can verify the dropping, and we'll know that, where we are. So that's where we are on Pinehurst.
Digress a moment and
I don't
ask
know.
Mr. Warren to come up to the table
Sure.
and fill us in on anything that he can.
Yes, he was gonna, because I haven't watched, he was gonna take this, he was gonna take this for us, so he can definitely,
Yeah.
we may be able to jump right into this, whatever you feel. Yeah, that's fine. I have no issues with that.
Thank you.
Hey, Danny.
Hi. Sorry I'm late.
Welcome.
Well, I just realized at the last minute was my 40th wedding anniversary, so I had to do a little shopping.
So could you do us a favor and identify yourself for the public that's watching?
I'm Danny Warren, president of Warren Environmental and A&W Maintenance Corporation.
Okay. It's your show. You have anything to add about this, particularly at Pinehurst, and then we can talk about the lining?
Well, Pinehurst is a mess, but I'm sure you've already been told that. It's a tricky job. We're going to have to work with the tides. There's no getting around it. Very short windows of opportunity. But a lot of debris and a lot of junk out there. I don't know if it's from hurricanes or what, but there's all kind of stuff in the ground out there. We run into a situation of, at about 5 feet down, it turns into silt sand that you could actually sink to China. There's no end to it, so we got to be careful with that. And we have to think about how we're going to stabilize that a little bit as we go out there. Other than that, it's just, you know, a tricky project.
Now, is that gonna be something that'll be able to be lined?
We can line it. We'd want to use double or triple layered woven S-glass, so it'll be actually stronger than steel when you get done with it. Be more ductile than steel. In deflection, it'll be about 4 times stronger than steel, so it'll take a lot more load. So it'll be like you're going to lose, say, 1/4 inch of the interior of the pipe, but you'll wind up something with a flex mod of around 1.5 million to 2 million PSI, where steel has 35,000 in that load. So it's definitely an option.
You said there was an awful lot of silt there. Once you rebuild the manholes, will they have to settle again?
Well, I don't think they'll be nowhere as near as apt to settle because they'll all be one continuous piece of material. The liner will be monolithic, not segments every 20 feet the way it is now, which is subject to lots of problems. If you start getting a leak in a joint, it'll start pulling the sand in and make a hole underneath. So you're going to get away from that. And then the liners will also be tied to the structures. And I was suggesting to Guy as we go from manhole to manhole, we should stabilize all the soil underneath with a grout material that will gel up all that sand and stop that sinking and make it, you know, somewhat more buoyant also at the same time. So instead of just pushing down through a little bit of sand, you'd be pushing down through a big mushroom of this material. So I think we're going to stop the sinking completely, to be honest with you.
How far do you think we're gonna have to go on this whole thing?
How far do we have to go? I would do anything that's out on that beach. You know, because that's, you know, you can't go back to them a dozen times and say we need to go out on that beach again. So I think we need to go right around that point. And once you get around that little cove, it goes back up into high land, right?
It goes back up Cottage Street, yes.
Yeah, everything in that cove needs to be done. So I think.
How many manholes? That?
Total of 7, one we're doing
7?
now,
Okay.
so 6 more after this one.
And they're 100 feet apart?
One's 205, one is 235, one is probably 90, one is probably 80, because it jogs. Let me ask a question, Ellis. Can you get online on that? Maybe. I'll show it to you. It's just easier to
So
explain to.
roughly how many feet are we speaking?
1,000 feet?
1,000 feet were existing and probably another 800 feet, so maybe 2,000 feet total as it makes its way around the bay. You'd have to, we'd have to really count it up, but I haven't, to be frank, done everything. What we're talking about now is C Street, War to C Street manholes, C Street to Pinehurst, and C Street to Ross Street. That's all we've really looked at for total line. But I'll show you the picture of the whole thing, and then.
I did a very similar job under Faneuil Hall about 20 years ago for Boston Water and Sewer. Actually, Bob Drake ran that job. It's done its job. It's totally stopped it, and it stayed in great shape. A couple years ago, Boston Water and Sewer actually took a piece out where they did a change on a fire hydrant, and they sent it down to us so we could see what it looked like at like 15 years old. We did another one way more similar to what you have here.
CLD.US, sorry.
And I thought of this on the drive in here tonight. In Owensboro, Kentucky, about 22 years ago, on their main drag, Merchants Way in their town, a manhole sunk. They have the same type of silt sand that you have out there from the river. And the manhole sunk and sheared the pipes off, and it slid down about 1.5 feet, 2 foot. So the whole town was out of business instantly. So Owensboro hired us to come in. We were working in Nashville. We actually bored a hole through the bottom of the structure, got a steel pipe through it, a piece of steel rod, and a chain, and we pulled it back up into place with an excavator, and then lined through the whole thing, and then tied it together and grouted the bottom. Dean Binky is the engineer there, and he'll tell you that's over 20 years old, and it never has sunk again. We've been doing all the work in Owensboro for the last 20 years, for that simple fact that we figured out how to deal with that silt.
So you're essentially saying that you're gonna do something quite similar here.
You've got the same thing here. The sand is just like water. That's the bottom line. But you can get down below it with rods and tie it up, and tie it up in big pieces. We also did one in Philadelphia, and when they put the addition on the Science Museum, they actually found a pillow of grout that was as big as a Volkswagen bus, where we'd filled in a sinkhole cavity with it. And we've done them all over Boston too, so, you know, same thing. All up in, I don't know if you guys remember when they were losing the brownstones, and it was on 60 Minutes, and they were spending a fortune trying to mine underneath the brownstones and repair each individual piling. They'll tell you at Boston Water and Sewer, we're the guys that stopped that. We went in and stabilized that soil, and that totally ended it. And then we lined all the manholes coming in and around that area to stop all the groundwater from leaking into the manhole and going to the treatment. And then the water table came back up, the timber stopped rotting out, and the building stopped sinking.
Do we have an estimate? Just to research the 7 manholes? Not repair or anything like that, but just to look?
I don't know, I think maybe, it says clear it, I don't know, let's see if it can find it.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
The question was, do we have an estimate cost of looking at the 7 manholes and the lines between them? Not repair them.
I'm gonna ask for a day to put that together. We learned a lot on this first one, so I will be able to do that.
It's reasonable.
Thank you. Well,
It's not coming up. I wanted to show you the bay. I can't see, it says here that maybe I gotta clear the cache or whatever, but for some reason it's not coming up. I don't know if that's it, but anyways, I wanted to show you the bay. The cost to investigate is our camera, some metal, because they're all gonna be coned, so we can come back at them, so so we don't have to redig them. Which is pretty straightforward, an excavator to go out there and dig all these up. And sump pump, we have all the materials, so it's labor, and I can get that from Danny
you
as labor.
plan to do
and
all the work as low tide as possible?
We have to.
Yeah, we have to go in before, just when the tide.
How much of the beach will be dug up with the machinery?
We're gonna walk the whole area along the beach.
With them?
But that wasn't the question. The question was how much is gonna be dug up.
Just the manholes.
I can show you a picture. The one we dug today, I believe will be the worst one we have to dig.
It was more than manholes. If you're going to put a piece of machinery, you're going to be putting machinery between manhole and manhole, right?
Right.
You can't, only can get to it is driving it on the beach.
Yeah, you have to come back up to the seawall, out of the water flow line, and follow the seawall around to the next one.
Okay, in front of all the homes that are there to, okay. So you'll try to reduce the amount of disturbance of eelgrass and all the other beach grass that's in the area, and
Yeah.
everything's muddy and scucky to work on.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about that too today, because that's a real concern. So I was thinking what we should do is lay out some tarps and stake them down, and then take the excavator and get down to the root and skim that eelgrass off and set it aside, almost like sod. Then when we do it, we can put those pieces back in, and that stuff will retake real quick that way.
Are we going to notify the homeowners that will be working in their front backyard or whatever? We need to tell them that there's going to be machinery between them and the water.
That's,
Yeah.
we do. And they see, we go out there and tell them exactly what we're going to do, and they're aware. Matter of fact, some of them take part. So, yeah, that's definitely.
So you'll be
And they've been.
email, snail mail,
Knock on
phone
the door.
call,
Knock on the door.
knock on the door.
The way to do it, knock on the door.
So we won't be able to get to the summer homeowners that are not there.
That's right, and if I sent them a letter, it wouldn't do them any good anyway, so.
No,
that-
but at least,
Yeah.
okay, if they can't get them on the door, can you at least send them a letter saying we've had to do this work? So they don't come down on a weekend and find their beach scarred? Is that an unreasonable request?
Are we
I guess so.
required? Are we required to? Do we have any right of way or?
No,
So,
we do have a right
Do
of
we
way.
need permission?
No, we don't need permission, we have a right of way, it's just courtesy.
I'm
So
not
as
looking
we-
for permission, I'm just saying, give
As
them
we-
heads up that,
As we work down there, we notify the neighbors where we're gonna be, and they come out. I'd have to get addresses, we could probably get it somewhere and send letters, we could do that.
well, I'm sure we have addresses, we've charged them our EDU, so,
We'd
yeah.
have to get addresses and get everybody
For
out.
those
and
that
do
are
it.
not home, you might very well
I mean, it
find
could be
yourself a
done. It's
dozen
not-
letters or something as, for the summer people who
Definitely
aren't
be done.
down
It's
yet.
not-
Thank
It's
you.
not that difficult.
And we're only probably talking about, what, 25 people or so?
Whoever's not home, we
That's
could
what I'm saying,
establish that.
Max end of it.
And we probably have the address here. It may wait until they get back from Florida. They may have forwarding, I don't really know, but we can definitely get it out there. And
Well, I just,
Yeah, that's
send them a
fine.
postcard or something.
We might just send people who have out-of-town addresses, but are paying for sewer on the street. So we go through C Street, you have an out-of-town address and send it to them. That would be our only indication that they were summer people.
That would be, thank you, just any type of effort to indicate that we tried to notify them that we're disturbing their beachfront.
I'll see if that can be done in a reasonable amount of time.
Thank you.
And there's also plywood to lay out. We found it very effective to lay plywood, walk on the plywood. It minimizes anything because you're pushing against a bigger piece and it doesn't destroy what you're walking on. So with the mini excavator and plywood, we're gonna minimize the damage to the beach. So it should minimize some concerns. So when people come home, it won't be that destroyed. Only gonna be destroyed is a manhole, because that's what we dig on, the manhole only.
By the time they come home, once we've got it done,
It'll be done.
they won't even see it. They won't
That's
even
right.
know it's there, because the tide will cover it up and wash it out.
Now, let me say this, and we'll bring it forward, because as we do these, we're not gonna bury them, we're gonna put some type of corrugated to come back at them to fix them, if they need to be fixed to clean. So that's what the issue is gonna be when they get home. The letter may state that you may see a piece of corrugated sticking out along the wall, because we don't wanna dig them up, fill them back in, dig them up. Once we dig them, they're gonna stay dug till we repair them.
Yeah, the minute the tide comes, it's half full of dirt again.
We're done. So that's gonna be the thing that, because they'll see all these little pockets, every manhole will have something.
Have you seen this project?
I do have a photo, I'm sure these guys do too, if you want to see what was
We have sewer
done with the
lines
machine
on
today.
private property.
I was down yesterday, so
It's written,
you were trying to pump the water out.
Same battle today.
You have that photo?
And the battle won't go away, because you're dealing with groundwater, you're dealing with surface water. It's a battle.
Sure. Yep.
It's a battle.
You are absolutely wrong, it is low tide.
Yep,
It is low tide. It started in
Yep.
Massachusetts when they started building the dock. I had to research it when I bought that property.
Small footprint.
Yeah, very small and very, it's a light foot too. It's the same one they use in the cranberry bogs.
yeah, I saw that.
That's just a great place to work.
Yeah.
It is. It
It's
is.
cold down here today, I'll tell you.
You're watching that water creeping in on you all the time. You know it's time to go.
Probably, it's in the water, so it's.
What do you do, get emergency permits?
No, we just do it.
You just do
We're
it?
fine. I called the DEP.
Just let them know.
Sandy was down, we just tell them we're doing it, and they said, fine,
you
just
get
get it
there?
done. They're pretty
Are you
excited
going
about being
along the
proactive.
edge?
If we lose one of those pipes, we have a major issue, so they want it
I mean, it's not like
looked
you're
at
going
and
out.
then determination what we need to do.
Where he is right now, he has permission to go over some.
The liner we're talking about for this project is actually on a magnitude of 5 times stronger than that liner right there.
Oh, and then you can go along on access.
yes.
I've driven, I've been out there, yeah.
How do we live without them?
This one that's sunk, this line is destroyed, that line is destroyed, and these 3 lines are completely down.
Yeah.
And then this one we can't get through, and then we're gonna investigate this one, this one, this one, this one, this one.
Yep.
So this is where we are today. This is War Street, C Street, this is Ross. This line is destroyed, we're gonna fix this line, fix that line, fix this manhole. Then we gotta clean this out to get a camera there, because that's when we can't get through. And then, by opening that manhole, then we'll go this manhole, that manhole, that manhole, that manhole, that manhole. and I think Jim's seen it.
So you got, what, 4 in the water, right?
We actually have 7 in the water. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the water.
Which one is C Street?
When you get finished with,
Hard to believe, huh?
So now we're gonna go from here to here.
It was a tough site with my Conservation Commission hat on.
will they be above
I
water
know.
at high tide when we get finished?
When we get finished, we're gonna put them at, they'll never be above at high tide, but they'll be at ground level.
Yeah.
So then when the water comes, it'll be over it. So when the tide comes up, it just covers the bay. But when the tide goes down, the bay's exposed. And so we'll have the manhole
That's the way it
bring
is.
up to right there.
That's the way it is.
So now if we have to chase them, the tide goes down, we can chase them. Because once we're done with this, we have to do routine inspections because I want to make sure nothing else drops. So we're gonna set all baselines. That's where the survey comes in, we're gonna baseline every rim. So now we can follow it over the years to make sure they're not sinking.
Yes.
Now, with these items just at ground level, they can't be seen with high tide. Is there anybody going to step into them, or are they going to be covered so they, well, so they won't
For boat to hit.
That's what the
drop
culvert's
into?
for.
Okay,
The culvert that was in
That's
this
what the
photo,
cones do.
yeah,
That is above the high tide mark at all times.
it will always be seen.
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
so,
that's the temporary, just I want to make sure we're on the same page. That's a temporary. When we fix it completely, we're going to bring them up to grade to the beach.
that's fixing it, but right now, I just wanted to make sure that it was visible,
It is.
so someone
Those
doesn't,
stay overnight so the mud doesn't go back in and cover the manhole. So once you
Okay.
dig it out, it's a lot of work to dig it out, a lot of it by hand even, and you don't want it to fill in overnight with
No,
the high
granted.
tide.
Did you show the picture?
nor do I want somebody cutting themselves on it or tripping on it or something like that. So the temporary
You've seen the.
silver thing
You've seen
will
the
be,
picture?
yes, will be above high tide.
Yes.
And then once fixed and everything else, the manhole will be
right.
like on a street, but in the mud.
That's right. And what you've seen today, remember, we have, the high tide is the moon, it's
Oh, yes.
very high. So you'll even have more exposure on the
Okay.
normal high tide. So that's
Thank
very
you.
visible. Absolutely.
Don't want someone kayaking into it.
We also, to be legal, we need to be 4 foot above it, so if somebody's walking, it's 4 foot, and that means they can't climb in it either. So kayaking, I'm more worried about kids climbing than I am kayakers, or people going into it than kayakers. I'm worried
Okay.
about people climbing into it. So by being 4 feet, we handle that also.
Thank you. Okay.
Now you want to go.
Okay, so what we'll do, we'll put that aside, we'll go to the film. Now, what I have here is the video of the pipe before we lined it. And as we go down, one of the things I want to point out, you can actually see the ribs. You can see the metal. You can see, not the actual metal, but you can see the ribs because the concrete is that deteriorated. But this is before, so we'll show you that, then we'll show you the finished product. And this is 20-something minutes, so we'll just give you segments of it if we don't.
Is
Yeah,
is
this is the jet rotor.
Is this the Swiss Beach one?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. I
And they're
just,
cleaning it, and it shows them cleaning it before they actually do the lining.
So tell us what we're seeing. What's the bottom and what's the top?
The dark,
I mean, you're looking at two different materials.
the dark down below is where the water level pretty much always wants to stay. So bacteria has been eating the bottom. At the top, where it looks like little rocks and everything, that's where the bacteria has oxygen, so it's being a lot more active. So you see those little ribs, every 4 inches there's a rib. That's the way the reinforcing wire is in there. So you got the inner ring and the circle and the outer rings in longitudinal. So we've lost a lot of pipe. So we clean them 4 times before we go.
Now, right there, there's less loss? No, I guess there is.
No, there's not. It actually is going to get worse as it goes. But and here's the other thing to try to remember. Once you get through the paste layer and you start seeing those rocks, you multiply your corrosion. 1 year equals 10. So down in Texas, we were doing a job in the Go Valley Tunnel. They thought it was a 200-year tunnel. They went in to look at it at 20 years, and the top was falling out of it because they didn't take that escalation into place. SEA engineers in Boston, they're the ones that figured all this stuff out and put it together for the MWRA with the loss rate and that type of stuff. But it's true. You go back and look, and it's amazing how much you lose. once it gets through that cream, because that's what's blocking the fumes from getting into the concrete, the acid.
What's that ring now, right there?
That's a joint where there's a pipe.
It's a joint?
Yep. See, that's what I was saying before. Once you line these, even on this size pipe, we've engineered these bags to be stronger than that was when it was brand new. So that can totally go away. You don't need that no more. It's great you have it, but you don't need it. So now it's one continuous monolithic piece of plastic and reinforced fiberglass the whole distance.
No, it's just like an extruded piece of pipe that just doesn't end.
Yep, yep. What we do is we know the measurement. We add another 15 feet to each measurement, so there's no chance of falling short. And then we cut those pieces out so we can come out into the manhole. We leave a bevel so we can tie the whole structure together as one. So then the whole structure stays as one.
And just to point out, one of the features is because it adheres to the pipe, most lining is a pipe within a pipe. There's no adhesion. This material actually adheres to the pipe, becomes part of it to make it more structurally sound.
See what it did to the brick,
You
actually.
can see how we had to, so that's an example of adhesion, and that makes this unique.
Now, and here's the other thing, up in Revere right now, a friend of mine has the contract. They went in with one of our competitors and lined the whole town and was like, yippee, we're out of this. Nope. The situation got worse instead of better because they didn't stick to the pipe. So then the pipe was carrying the water straight to the next manhole from leaking around the pipe. It doesn't go in between the other pipes. It takes the least pass, it dumps out into that manhole, goes into the other pipe and goes straight on to the treatment plant. So they thought they were done. They weren't. They just issued a multi-million-dollar contract because now every lateral has to be lined, every manhole has to be tied in, everything has to be done, and they weren't expecting it. And I was with the mayor of Quincy 2 weeks ago in the DEP. There was a congressman there. They've spent millions and millions and millions just to find out that it didn't work, and they are absolutely livid about it.
Now, we've gone 255 feet down here. I haven't seen any connection point, or would I?
You will see one. Some of the lines don't have but one or two, some might have 15. This one, I think there's one in this one. Now, that's another thing about this, where that lateral goes up to the house. This is what they're facing up in Quincy, Cambridge, all over the place. That lateral leaks because they don't collect. When this liner's going forward, there's like a ring, like a donut of raw resin, the excess resin as it's going through, pushing forward. And that ring fills in, like you'll see when we go back through, every imperfection in there is going to be sealed off. But it pushes up in the lateral going back to Mrs. Johnson's house. And you'll see when they cut it out, that resin went up inside and locked those two together, so there's no leaking at all.
So now we'll show you a line pipe, because this is just going to continue. We'll show you a pipe that's lined so you can see yourself the difference.
So I'm just guessing.
Yeah, it's manhole to manhole, they named them, so I can't, yeah, you gotta.
So what we'll do, just so we could keep the job alive when we had the nightmare of the wrong liner, we did the manhole, so we'll go back now and tie everything back in together. And we're gonna do that this week while they're fixing the repair. But this is the finished product.
Is this the same pipe?
Yep, same pipe. And what you see in dripping is the jetter's washing it right in front of them. So they're taking out all the stuff from cutting out the laterals and stuff, and they're washing it one last time for the picture.
See, I thought
And you-
it was condensation.
No, and you can see the water up in the front. Look forward.
Way up, oh, yeah. You can see it drawing the bottom.
Yeah, they're blasting it one last time.
Oh, yeah, I can see, oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you see where that pipe was broken right there on the left side? That whole hole's filled in. And you see things after you've lined it, imperfections that you wouldn't have saw before, because it's just all a maze of broken up rocks, you know?
You look straight ahead, the front end of that, it's all dry, basically.
Looks like a colonoscopy.
I haven't looked that closely in the past.
I'm not gonna say it.
At least no polyps.
They were lined. It's like, that's be the future, line it.
Well,
Okay.
So,
So
yeah,
we saw it before and after.
now look at this one here coming up though. Here's a lateral right here.
Oh, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, you'll see now,
On the, oh, yeah, okay.
But it has been already cut out.
yeah, it's been cut out. Yeah, we cut them out. As soon as we get done lining, we go and we pop those so everybody can use their tolerance in, then we go back and dress them up, because we can dress them up while they're active. We get everybody back online as fast as possible.
Is that a lateral? Yeah, there's another one.
Does this one show the cutting out, Danny? This other one?
That one does. That should, I want you to see how we cut them out too. This is all done with robots. So,
So prior to cutting those, Danny, right, you can tell where they are, so.
yeah, it dimples in. It dimples in, and when we had the problem, and I apologize, but I had to be in the hospital that week for my 1-year checkup on my eyes, and I started getting these horrible phone calls that everything's gone south. It couldn't stretch, so they bored 30 holes trying to find one lateral. And so when I got home, when I got the call, I came straight home. And they were going to put in a 420-foot one the next day, and they already had the resin in it, and I said no, and everybody went nuts. And I said, we're not doing another one until I figure out what the heck is going on here. And so then I asked the cranberry farmers, because now you got to get rid of this thing, because I didn't let them put it in the ground. So I asked the farmers, did they want it, if I cured it and I'd cut it up, they could use it for drive-over pipes, and naturally they said yes. So we blew it up on the ground, and then it was even more clear that it was all defective. So we didn't let the farmers have it yet. We kept it in case we need it, you know, to get reimbursed for some of you guys. It's crazy expense. So we got the new liner. Now we're back on schedule. They're all coming up perfect, as you just saw.
So right now, where are we along the line? How far?
Just ready to enter Ripley's Trailer Park.
Okay, so we're just about done with Swiss Beach Road.
Yes, we are. We just go, the bad lining, they're cutting it out, they're gonna reline that. That's the last thing we have to do on that.
So here's the robot, and a young guy is sitting in there with his headphones on listening to music, and it's amazing. But you can see, let me go there so I can get here, so you can see when he's cutting. See how thick that looks? It's like 2 inches thick. That's where that bubble was I'm talking about, pushed up in.
Yeah.
So he's actually up into the lateral, still taking out the excess resin now, so that whole thing is glued together, so it cannot leak. If we would have followed that up to the end on the other one, you would have seen it had water continuously running around the lateral pipe into the sewer. It wasn't coming from the people's houses, it was groundwater running in and out, so that resin cured up just fine. What happened with the other liner, it was actually made backwards. The expansion was on the wrong side, so it couldn't do anything. So after they cured it, I went out and I got 18-inch plastic pipe, so there's no doubt what the sizes were. And I put 3 times the safety factor on the line, and I could still stick my hand between the pipe and the wall. So that's when this giant company, Clark Phelps, they were sent a vice president in, a troubleshooter, and a lawyer, and I said, before you do that, let me send you a video. So they called back and said, Dan, get us out of this. I said, well, you're gonna have to pay this. That's how you're gonna get out of it. You're gonna have to pay. That's right, it's nobody's fault, they're theirs. So the minute we got and I gotta say this for them, they did totally shut the plant down in Pennsylvania and focus on nothing but Wareham. They turned out a ton of material fast. Another trailer came in today, so we're gonna be right on schedule.
Excellent.
And it's been flawless since we got the right material. But the other thing that hurt the job was all the people lost faith, like 3 days in a row, all they had was a disaster, so now they're all happy again.
Look at the kid.
Everything is moving as it should be instead of doing the mill.
Wow.
That's amazing.
I heard a little bit about
It's amazing.
Yeah, we actually dug a trench and put the pipe in the trench in the mud with water from the bog, and then we built a box so we could keep the water constant, so these people would get their courage back, because they were getting to the point of like, they were thinking I was just another person claiming that they could do this that couldn't, and they'd been hurt really bad in other places from those types of brags. So now they're in love, so we're all happy. And the other thing, I told Guy that I thought the main thing was wrong, they needed a better choir director. We cut the delivery time on the bag from 9 hours to 2 because they had a choir director. And but now everybody knows their job and they're doing their job and it's just fine.
So what's happening there right now?
He's seeking another one.
Yeah, he's going looking for another
Another
lateral.
one to cut out.
Oh, I see.
And right there it is. See that? Can you stop him right there? You come right on that again. See it cut?
See the dimple right there? See it? There it is. Look on the top, 12 o'clock.
Yep.
That's what's supposed to happen. They're supposed to push a local resin up in there.
Yeah.
But if when the liner goes in and you first launch it, you only put it in a couple of feet and you bring it up to 5 or 6 PSI. I usually bring them to 7 PSI. And once they start going in a little ways, then I reduce it back to 5 PSI because you don't want to squeeze too much resin out of the bag. But once it's locked to the outside walls, it acts like a giant plunge squeegee and pushes everything out. The first time I ever did this, you can still see it on the Discovery Channel. Matter of fact, Frank called me Saturday and saw it in Seattle on the Discovery Channel. It was a long time ago at UMass Dartmouth. I lined 1,800 feet of clay pipe that had pulled apart in 3 places under the swamp, under the athletic field, under one of the buildings. And I cut their sewer bill by $500,000 a year on the dry year and $800,000 to $900,000 on the wet year. And they're still tracking that at UMass Dartmouth. So, but there it is. You can see the cut. He goes right there and cuts it out.
Yeah.
Now imagine their lines, when they did a line that had 15 of these in it, they couldn't find a damn one of them.
Yeah.
All they had then was their pre-videos, and they were taping, and they.
Right, you record the footage, right? The linear
Yes.
footage. So
Yes.
you know approximately where you should be
Yeah,
looking.
so they were trying to find one, there's over 30 holes. And when I saw that, I said, there's no way in the world we're putting another one of these in.
Yeah.
There's something wrong here. So, luckily the kid was very good, the minute he got to the pipe, he stopped. And he went to another one, that's the night they stayed out there till 2 in the morning, because they didn't want those people to wake up with no bathrooms. And they finally found it.
Ouch.
Yeah, so there you see the cut from the beginning. What he'll do is he'll make his first cut. Those heads are like $600 a piece, they've already worn out too, because the stuff is so hard. And we're gonna give them some more money for that, because they weren't expecting it to be as hard as it is. It's not what they're used to. So he'll make his first cut in the middle, you'll see this very quick, he'll get through this thing. So, you know, here comes the water from the bathroom and stuff, and we told people, once we had it in, you can use your bathroom, just come and ask us, and they were good about it, they would call home and say, hey, can I use the bathroom now?
That's good.
So now he pops through.
Reminds me of a dentist doing a drilling. Reminds me of a dentist doing a drilling and putting water to reduce
Please
the heat.
don't give him one.
Now, this material that's being cut out will flow down to the pump station and eventually to be treated?
No, we back it out ourselves.
Well, you
They
do.
clean the line, but any residual emiss will flow, and it's
Okay.
just, it'll get caught in the screening process up front before it even gets into the process.
Okay, thank you.
In front of us on the next line. It's just something else we gotta clean. So that's it, he pops his hole through, then he just keeps working around till he gets the edge. And they will tell you, they're the 3rd largest lining company in America. They were the biggest, they own the City Forum. They sold it for $180 million. They went on vacation for 5 years, with no one to be rented out, and they came right back. So, they're really, really good. I've worked with them all over the United States. When you see how thick that resin's up into that, it really shows it how far we push that resin up in that pipe. That whole pipe to lateral connection, we're not have to sit it off with another process. The average cost on that is $2,300 per lateral if we seal that off. So it's just a lot of savings.
Well,
That's,
thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
you should be back on track Tuesday, we'll start again and have that process. We'll start at Ripley's Trailer Park and just keep going. when we get to the school, there's some logistics we've already worked through. We're gonna have a set of plans drawn up. I'll turn it to you folks. Give a copy to the school, police, fire, because there's gonna be ramps there so school continues, will continue. There'll be a bypass, and there'll be ramps for buses, and we'll take care of the ramps for the kids in wheelchairs, and we'll have it all planned out. And we'll get it to everybody before we actually get to that point.
And I got a bonus for you. I'm bringing in another complete total crew out of Baltimore. They're coming in on the 25th. So when we get to that school, then we're gonna hit that school hard and get in and out of there fast. And then that crew is staying until we get to the end of the project. So we'll be dropping 2, if not 3 liners per day, starting as soon as that other crew gets in here. And they could be here by the 23rd, the very latest, the 25th.
And I don't want to lose sight of the fact that this is new product, it's cutting edge, we talked about it, because it does a good job at protection, it's aquatic safe, and this company is getting used to working with it because no one's ever worked with it, so they're getting better and better, and I'm impressed with their patience and wanting to learn to give us the best job they could, so it's really working out well. I'm pretty excited about it.
And they actually called us today and asked us, would we go to San Diego with them to do the same work in San Diego? They've already started pushing their offices to use it more. And I'm very proud of the fact that it came out of Wareham. I mean, the bottom line, we're the best in the world, and we're from Wareham, so there you go. So, with that being said, it is my 40th wedding anniversary. I'm going to bid you adieu.
Do you want to
Thank you very
continue?
much.
Danny?
I'm just kidding. Thank you, Danny, I appreciate it, I really appreciate coming tonight.
Thank you, Guy.
Thank you, I really
This guy's great to work with.
I hope you have a good dinner planned.
I think we're having scrambled eggs. I'm tired, she knows.
Baloney.
See you guys. Good night.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Danny.
Danny.
Thanks again.
I'm so impressed.
What do you like, Bob? Thanks, I don't think. All right, continuing on, we're done with Lopes Field Pump Station for the bypass. Now we just have to clean it. We have to put the asphalt back in, clean it up,
I
and
saw
then
that.
take everything off. So that bypass is in, we're just cleaning it up now. Pretty interesting. I have the coupon. It's a big old coupon, so we're getting that analyzed. I'll let you know. There's some deterioration, they're concrete lined, and so that answered the biggest question about whether it was concrete lined or not. It is concrete lined. Concrete's pretty deteriorated, so we'll have it analyzed to tell us how much of that pipe is left. They're at Cohasset Narrows now. We just cut the same thing. We cut that coupon out, and we took a section of pipe. I have that. The scary part of that one is that the exterior is eaten up. We don't know if it's because of the salt water in that area, if it's the acidity of the soils, but the exterior of that pipe there's big chunks taken out of it. So we're concerned now about that entire 10-inch force main all the way up Route 6 and 28. So we'll try to get a better idea of that one.
That'd be a function of the hydrogen sulfide.
The Hudson sulfide usually is on the inside. It's a process of the interior. On the outside, it's normally the acidic soils is what eats it, and salt water and things of that sort. So something's attacking it from the outside in the soils. Hydrogen sulfide is interior. So we get an exterior, we know, and a little bit of interior, but a lot of exterior, which gets us really concerned. So we want to get that analyzed for how much pipe is left, and then make some decisions going forward. We'll add that to the list. Where it's going to be in the list, I can't tell you, but it will be on the list. Let's see, and finally, the letters went out, 77 letters went out, I believe. 77 were mailed out, 13 undeliverable, 7 vacant, 24 received, 35 awaiting for some type of response. 1 was actually done, 5 Mox Cove, and 7 Mox Cove is in the process of being done, and that's where we are. So I'll give you copies of these, I'll get them out to you. So the register letters are all out, and see where we go. And that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the board for your time.
Conservation Commission just approved a project down on Independence Lane and Point Independence Yacht Club for stormwater mitigation. There's two sewer lines, manholes down there at the point just where they're working, and I asked they made sure they contacted you so you were aware of that town was going to work in the area. So if you could get a hold of probably Mr. Menard or Ken Buckland, I've asked them to contact the sewer since I saw 2 manholes on the plan.
Who's doing it? Is it, that's a private
Well-
club, so who's doing
well,
it?
The town is working on it. So GAF brought the plans forward, so maybe you might want to go to GAF and see if you can see the plans and speak to them, because the town is doing it. Point Independence is picking up the cost for some of it. The engineering plan and stuff like that was done by them, but just be aware that they're going to be digging some new stormwater treatment holes right next to your 2 manholes.
Thank you.
Okay. Some of our unfinished business that's still pending in there, sump pumps, that's those letters. Guy,
I'm sorry?
the letters you sent out, that was on sump pumps.
No, the letters we
was
sent,
hookups.
I apologize, they were on the folks that did not tie in,
Tie-ins, that's right.
Guess what I found?
What did
the
you
sump pump list.
The initial letter with all the notes. So if you remind me,
I love it.
I found it.
Okay,
I don't know how I found it. It was right. You know how I found it? I put it on a clipboard instead of in the pile
oh, good. I know how to do that.
Yeah, I like it.
with all the corrections.
Okay.
Excellent.
Have you received any responses from the letters that have been delivered?
No. We just got, the green card
The
back that
green,
says they've been received.
the green cards back, yeah.
And well, let me say, I'll clarify that. The only response we got back is the guy from 5, Mark Scorb, that says, hey, I'm tied in. And you know the irony is, he's been tied in since 2014.
And hasn't paid an EDU.
More income for the plant.
How do you tie in?
Also have to treat the sewage.
Never mind.
There's a process. If somebody ties in, the
Maybe we're
contractor, it's signed off on, contractor brings it back, it goes on someone's desk, and there goes. So we had some transition of staff. It goes from one desk to another desk, and it just never gets entered.
Oh,
It sits
well.
someplace. So that's,
Because I thought the contractor was required to tell you when the hookup was completed.
and so, but
Well,
once,
it's something, okay, so
It's a
somewhere,
process.
you're able to find his paperwork and say, yes, you've had
Everything's
5
verified,
years
yes.
of free sewer.
you're right. You're correct.
Guy, are we under any obligation to force these people to tie in?
It's a bylaw, so I don't know if you want to call that an obligation. We have a bylaw that says, yes, we are an obligation, because the reality is that everything is equally shared. Those that are not tied in and paying their share, someone else is picking it up. It's pretty straightforward, so we are obligated,
But
yes.
by the same token, if they're not tied in, we're not treating their waste.
Yeah. There's a cost of the infrastructure, we gotta continue the maintenance. The money that they're giving us, just because their gallon doesn't come in, that pipe that's in front of them that they should be using, we still have to maintain it, everything has to be done, so they're part of that contribution to overall continual maintenance. They're not
But-
paying their part.
But you could counter with, they're not causing it any destruction either.
Doesn't matter, they were bettered, it was put there for their use, they have an equal part of it. You could argue that if I don't
What
use
I'm
my
getting
water.
at is, beside there being a town bylaw,
Mm-hmm.
which like the rest of the town bylaws, nobody enforces, is EPA or anything telling us that they have to be tied in?
Nobody, we don't have a mandate from EPA or DEP. No one's saying, we decided when we did the treatment plant, a 20-year plan for tying in. We have a bylaw that says, once we come in front of your house, you will tie in. That's our decision, our force. So we do have it, but to your point, if we don't enforce it, it's not there, it's not existent. But we should enforce it because it's the right thing to do.
Isn't the Board of Health involved in this? I mean, if they've got a cesspool,
That's only if it fails.
a cesspool is immediately failed, no matter how you look at it.
Only when
Who's
discovered,
got one?
only when discovered. You can have it
You know who's
until
got
you
one?
sell your home or till somebody discovers
But
it.
isn't the responsibility of the pumpers to identify a particular cesspool that has been pumped out more than X times a year, if they do their paperwork?
So let's say they send one to Wareham, one to Rochester, so they dump it different places. By the time it gets back to the Wareham Board of Health, so it's a very
So
difficult thing to
The
enforce.
hauler reports where they dump, not where they've sucked it up from.
Yes, if
Okay,
the hauler.
I get it,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? We may never see it, never
But
know.
when someone sells their home,
Then it's grabbed.
That's a different
then
game.
it's grabbed,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah.
Whole different game.
And that's what we talked about, the sump pumps. When they sell the house, that part of the inspection, the MLC and all that is, yeah. Well, let me.
Excuse me, what did you say? When they sell their homes, it's part of what inspection?
Well, they get a municipal lien certificate. Part of that certificate signing off is that they do or do not have a sump pump. So at that point, we have a right to get into the basement to see if they have a sump pump. That's all. Just a way of getting in there to see it. So
But I-
like when you sell your home, if you're on septic, you have to have a Title V, or you can't sell it. Maybe,
I'm more interested in what you said about the sump pumps.
so what I'm saying is, the same thing with the sump pump. When you sell the home, those are on sewer, it must be signed off that that house has been inspected by the sewer department to verify you do not have a sump pump, and if you do, it gets disconnected. That's a way of
Are
getting
you
us in
saying
there.
the sewer department has to sign off when a house is sold?
Correct.
Did you sign off on the house next door to me?
Well, we don't have that policy. I'm saying for our sump pump policy, we may want to put that in.
How do you know they don't have a sump pump? I know they do.
We have to, what I'm saying, when the house is sold, we have to go look. And if we don't look,
My point is, you said the sewer department has to sign off.
not now, I'm saying to do our policy for sump pump, that may be something we should introduce.
Oh.
We presently don't have it.
You're saying that's what we should include in the policy?
Yes, on the policy, there's different ways of getting in the house, and that may be one way to get in the house.
Because I
Because
believe,
right now, we can't.
That's not what I thought I heard. All right, thank you. Thank you.
but I believe we're having Jimmy talk to town council regarding the bylaws for both sump pump and hookup to make sure we don't have a flawed bylaw, which was indicated in a selectmen's meeting a couple months ago, that our bylaws were a problem, but that's why you're talking to Mr. Bowen, correct?
Correct.
On both topics.
A Stone Path, any words there? Okay.
We're about a month away from the actual, I think May 10th or May 9th, we're going to get the results of the analysis. We're doing the modeling, and then we'll have some good ideas. And then we'll present it to Stone Path as our research, and they can do what they need to do.
The home's not connected, you've sent out the letters, so that's under control. Anything in from Ty and Bond?
I haven't, and to be frank with you, Mr. Chairman, I haven't pursued it. I've been doing busy other things that really has not high on my priority. I apologize for that, but I'll get back to it.
I mean, we've kept it on there just so we don't forget it, that's
I
the
appreciate
primary
that.
reason for this.
I appreciate that.
New business, C Street, we did that already. We did the video already, so those two are off the table. Now,
Time?
go.
I'm, Chair, make a motion, we adjourn at 7:37. Oh, sorry, I take back my motion to adjourn.
We're not quite ready for that, Sandy.
Oh, I thought that's what,
Donna didn't train you very well.
No, I'm telling you, no.
I should have been quicker, is that what you're telling me?
No, Ellis has got the stage at the moment under new business, actually, it's not listed here, but he's got the,
I put a Q3 budget update in front of you. Just 1 minute highlights. We've gone through 75% of the year. It's Q4 now. And we've spent 69% of the budget on page 1. Just below that, I've got some expenses listed. So we might come in at about budget this year after we get through all of those. For wages, again, 75% through the year, we've spent 60% of the budget. And on the last page, we've not really gone through much of our capital budget. So 829 remaining on the capital budget. On that, I would like to ask you to vote to allow me to go to town meeting on the special to approve 600,000?
It'd probably be a good start.
600,000 on the special, out of this capital portion of the budget, for C Street renovation, so we can do it prior to, if it's appropriate, so we can do it prior to the next town meeting.
Well, what warrant do you plan to do this on?
It's on a special, and
No.
there's a placeholder for capital, and I apologize for not getting to capital planning, but we
Did
just learned
capital
about it this
planning
week.
approve it?
It's just come up.
Yeah,
Capital
C
planning
Street,
had no-
yeah.
No chance to approve it. They had no chance to bring it forward because it's,
Were there a meeting, I would have brought it to you.
So this will be added to the 215,000 for the roof?
right.
The
same
roof
warrant?
and the Buzzards Bay, 82,000, I believe.
Yeah.
So it will be added to the warrant.
If I can get it done, yes.
Thank you.
Additionally, we found out earlier this week that the Thatcher pump station is, and Guy can tell you more about it, but there's problems with corrosion in the wet well. It's not just corrosion, it's falling apart in places, and it's unsafe. The ladder's completely fallen off at this point.
Yes, thank you. This rail system, the pumps are on rails. We lost the pump. The rails are metal brackets to the ceiling and to the floor. The concrete is gone, the metal's gone, so those pumps have no way of coming up and down. They don't seat.
This is Thatcher, right?
This is Thatcher. It also has the check valves within, they're all rotted, so we got to replace the check valves. And the pipe going out from the pumps out to the force mains, they have to be replaced. So we're going to totally rehab the entire structure, concrete structure, and then drill in all new cross members and also the sliding rails, and then the brackets to hold all the floats, and all that has to be redone. So it's going to be quite extensive. So we'll have it all epoxy coated and everything screwed back in and replace the metal.
So the estimate for that, wild estimate, because Guy hasn't had time to research it, it's just come up. He was thinking 110, so if we could get a vote for 150 to set aside for that, we might be able to fix that one up before the next town meeting.
Okay, so you are looking for
750,000?
two motions
Yep, and this would be out of our budget,
out of the existing budget that we have in front of us.
FY '19, yeah.
Right, okay. So the money has already been allocated. It's not specific. Now we want to make it specific.
There was an allocation for a lot of this capital, but a lot of it was somewhat generic. Some of it was not spent, the generators, for instance.
And some of it we anticipated because of the $5 million loan.
What do we need here? We're looking for here, one.
Will this bring Thatcher, oh, I'm sorry.
We're looking for one motion for 750,000 or two motions, one for 6 and one for 150.
They are separate projects, so whatever you think's
Probably one for
appropriate.
each. We should have a motion for each.
I make a motion to approve a $600,000 capital expenditure from the WPCF capital budget line.
Yeah. The FY '19 budget, including
FY19
capital.
budget, yep.
I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
400. And now, can I get for Thatcher Pump Station? For 150?
Is that coming out of the same place?
Yes.
I make a motion, we approve $150,000 for the FY19 capital plan to rehab the Thatcher Station
Well,
Second.
well, wet well, what do you call it? Is there a name for that structure?
Pump
that-
station, Thatcher Pump Station, it's a pump
Just
station, yes.
Just the pump station.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
400. Okay,
smaller nitnoids, just to keep you up with what's going on. The roof systems, the four of them that's going to bid now. He's sent me some final stuff. I'm going to put it in the newspaper, set it on Combis. He sent it to the Secretary of State's site there to post. So hopefully everything will go smoothly with that, and we'll get those roofs done next month or the month after, depending on when there's time.
And hopefully it'll be approved at town meeting.
Hopefully it will. I'm making assumptions again. entered a new electrical contract, dropping our electrical rate from 17 cents to 8.5. And that, so I did a little math, that shaved about 17,000 off our bill for the water pollution control.
For this month?
Yeah, I showed you that one.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that was actually last month.
right.
That came off contract in October, and we put it on, managed to get it back on for last month. And I should have a new 6-inch trash pump coming in. Guy set this up a while back, and we just got the bids in. I finalized the award letter. I'm just working the contract through legal. This pump will pump 2,200 gallons a minute, and it will tie in with those pump station bypasses that we've just had set up at Cohasset Narrows and over at Heinz Field. So you can pump from a manhole straight into the force main, take the station offline for an emergency or even maintenance, and in the long run it'll be a lot cheaper, hopefully, than trucking. Also, it can be used to pump tank to tank within the plant, or even any other manhole that's got a lot of flow. We've got a 4-inch pump that'll do the small stuff. But this guy's on a trailer.
Yeah.
You don't have to lug it back in and out of the truck like the 4-inch pump.
This is trailer and pump. There we go, right?
Yep, and I asked him for something I could back up to, hitch it up, throw some hoses in the truck and go.
Yeah.
So it's got a block heater, battery charger, it's got a diesel engine, and it'll pump a lot of water. And it'll take a 3-inch rock, supposedly without breaking. We'll see. Hopefully there's no rocks, but
I've had to use them, yeah, they work good.
yeah.
Now, Junior Donna,
I make a motion, we close the meeting at 7:40.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Jimmy.